he came back, he would. First off, he couldn't.
I'm sharing a talk that I'm doing. That's being shared with me about MDA, MA, and acid. And my research is done in angel dust, how this could be effective treatment in trauma release, working on stress management, working on depression and anxiety. So that's why I'm sharing this with you. I don't know about the copyright issues, but I want this to be a part of my show because I'm going to be talking about this as far as it comes with sexuality and the aspects of sexuality, and how we can introduce various explorative methods in exploring our creative abilities, exploring intimacy, exploring the mindset and the judgment when it comes to the different drugs that are out there and the different research that's being done in those areas.
I really don't know. Sounds a lot like wisdom to me. It's really amazing. You try and think of that really rageful aspect of me. Like I can't even. I know it's there, but it just doesn't. I really feel like so much more at peace with like everything. Even if I try to think about Iraq and everything, like I somehow feel like really peaceful about the fact that that's my journey. And thanks for sharing that. Part of me thinking, I know this is part of the, part of the drug, but when I try and think, am I going to be able to hold on to this, this understanding, this somewhat of wisdom, this knowledge that I have now. I just asked myself that question. I feel like it's so profound that I don't think I could really get it.
So that was over 12 years ago. He did not forget it, and he no longer has PTSD, and he hasn't taken MDMA since the study. There's a certain courage that it takes for people to confront their traumas, and if they're not willing to do that, the MDMA helps them to do that, but it can't do the work for them. So we feel like we're more like midwives than anything else, and that people have to do the work themselves. So we have found there's a great video, a documentary called Trip of Compassion, and it's about 3 of our Israeli PTSD patients and their therapy. Now, they were all successes, but some of the times you can see that it's nothing like the video that I showed. They're shaking, they're sweating, they're terrified, they're hiding under their pillows and their blankets. That it's very, very difficult for some people to work through to process this. And a lot of times it's somaticized, so that if you can't sort of consciously make it, things come to people in their pains in their body or tensions like that. And so we've had several people who had MDMA drop out of our study because they didn't want to work with the powerful emotions that were coming up. And so I think for those people that it doesn't work for, I would recommend something more gradual, like more psychotherapy over a prolonged period of time, and then maybe they would then be ready. So I think that it's about the willingness of people to really engage with the pain. And the MDMA helps them, but it doesn't do all the work. People have to be willing, and if they're not, then they won't get better. So the lessons that we learned in phase 2, though, is that we can enroll people in our studies regardless of the cause of PTSD. The SSRIs, Zoloft and Paxil, that are approved by the FDA for PTSD tend to work better in women than in men and completely failed in combat-related PTSD. But we can enroll people with PTSD from any cause. We found that low doses of MDMA do enhance the blinding, but they have an anti-therapeutic effect that they make people more uncomfortable. They don't reduce the fear, but they activate them. So low dose wasn't such a good placebo control. We discovered that it's safe in clinical settings, and that we had a medium to large effect size, that we were getting really good results. So after this end of phase 2 meeting, we went through this long process of negotiating with FDA what's called special protocol assessment to design phase 3. So we came to agreement. We have an agreement letter, and that means FDA is legally bound to approve MDMA-assisted psychotherapy for PTSD if our studies get statistically significant evidence of efficacy and no new safety problems arise. PTSD is a terrible situation. 6 to 10% of all people develop PTSD in their lifetime. 18 or so more percent of Iraq War veterans develop PTSD. It's higher in conflict zones. And only 40 to 60% of patients respond adequately to available treatments. There's over 1 million veterans. This is September 2018. Over 1 million veterans are disabled with PTSD and are receiving disability payments from the VA for PTSD. It's the third most prevalent service-connected disability after ringing in the ears and hearing loss. The VA spends about 15 to 20 billion per year in these disability payments, mostly for young people. It's going to go on for decades. And they spent in 2017 $7 billion on drugs for PTSD. Mostly these are SSRIs. This is a chart sort of effect sizes of how strong is the therapeutic effect. The FDA requires you to have 2 phase 3 studies that are statistically significant. And so Paxil had 3 studies. One of them failed. But they have small to medium effect sizes, whereas in our phase 2 data...
You can tune in live on Facebook right now and get this research. Hopefully they'll make a recording of it.
Breakthrough treatment. It's the most important designation for the
Psychedelic Research Center, MAPS of Canada, MAPS of Canada, is also doing research studies currently.
Treatment is 3.5 months. And there are 3 MDMA sessions, 8 hours long, with a male-female co-therapy team, and people spend the night in the treatment center most of the time. And then there's 12 90-minute non-drug psychotherapy sessions, with 3 before the first MDMA session, or this would be the placebo session, the therapy without MDMA, and then 3 of these sessions for integration after each MDMA session. So you can see from this that it's really therapy that is enhanced by the MDMA. And we have a 2-person team. We prefer male-female team. Doesn't always have to be that way, but we're really trying to optimize patient outcomes. We've got phase 3 site locations, as I said before, 15 of them, 2 in Israel, 2 in Canada, and 11 throughout the United States. We've also negotiated with the European Medicines Agency for a series of meetings after we got the special...
Join me right now live on MDMA Research. They're giving a live recording of the research that's being done in MDMA research in trauma release. Join me right now if you want to get into the know. There's a lot of information. A lot of times I talk about stuff and people don't think, oh, Baylen doesn't know what he's talking about, or the invisible, where is he getting this information from? So I'm providing you information and resources and fact-finding to show you that I'm not just shooting off with the hip.
And it's called risk evaluation and mitigation strategies. So it's not the drug, it's the therapy. So the only people that can prescribe this and treat patients are people that have been trained in the therapeutic approach. And it's only administered in clinics under direct supervision. It's never a take-home drug. There's going to be a centralized pharmacy that ships to the prescribers, not to the patients, and there will be certain safety criteria. The things that are under the dotted line...
I would like you to join me right now as the Invisible presents MDAM research that's going on in trauma release and various approaches. Their approaches using MDMA and providing that to my audience. I'm on Instagram right now telling them what I'm doing and what's going on. So I'm using several platforms for you networkers. They're trying to integrate ways of communicating ideas and concepts to people through various platforms. This is just an example. I'm on Instagram right now, just on Facebook. This is how you reach your crowd. This is how you reach your client with the factual resources and information that you have and some of the studies and case studies that you're doing. Just a proven method.
The scale of the number of people that we've trained all over the world, This was in the Netherlands and Israel, Nashville, North Carolina. We're getting up to the present, Colorado. We did a training for therapists of color, and we did another one in Nashville. We also evaluate and supervise them as they work with one PTSD patient. Everything's videotaped, and our team watches the videotapes. And then we have a week-long in-person training. So it's rather rigorous, but we think it's optional. We don't want to require people to do the MDMA. We think that any therapist who's working with patients would be better able to work with MDMA if they knew what it was themselves. You wouldn't go to a meditation teacher that never meditated or a yoga teacher that didn't do yoga, but we don't think we should require it. And we think the patients should be able to know the difference. So this is just
psychedelic research.
A long time ago, there'll be a diploma that we give to people if they've been successfully through our training program, and then we'll add these if they've the rainbows if they've taken the MDMA. To show again further mainstreaming, this is a police psychotherapist, Sarko Gregarian, who lives not far from me here in Boston, and he's going through our training program to learn how to give MDMA therapy to other police officers with trauma. So I've always felt that the police are the predator and I'm the prey. Now I have a lot more sympathy for the police. I understand their job is very, very difficult and that they need a lot of help and therapy. And so it's just one of the proudest things for me is working with Sarko to try to train him to help other police officers. And we think he's only the first of many. Right now,
I'm going to end the radio show there. This is just another example of how I do my research, my fact gathering, to provide the information that I provide with you. And I just want to clarify that there are other research that's being done in marijuana. There's other research that's being done with opioids and cocaine and effectively treating people, because we have to get away from and help people that have compulsive disorders that have turned to drugs to release the trauma. So this is why I'm presenting it. There's various approaches. Some people, like me, have adverse reactions to the pharmaceuticals that are out there, what's being presented currently and I'm not saying that that's for everybody. I'm just letting you know that what I've used in my clinical trials in trying to see what works for me in my wellness care and helping me with my mental health. So this was just a presentation, and I'm showing you that I'm not just some drug addict trying to promote that I use substances, but I'm trying to tell you that I'm a holistic coach, and I know about various elements, various structures like aromatherapy, kinesiology, Reiki. There's various methods to release the trauma that you have. So not one set idea works for any individual. You guys see what works best for you. I hope you liked the radio show that I just did. I'm going to be talking more about it later on today and through the upcoming events. So stay tuned. Tune in so you can tune out all the trauma that's been happening in your life. And the change is coming. You're seeing it here, live presented by Bark Solutions and The Invisible, working with networking and working with other groups to help you better yourself, helping you help yourself. Have a positive day. I hope you reach out and do the research. I can't do all the work for you. I'm helping you help yourself. All right, you have a beautiful day. Stay tuned. I'm going to be doing another thing on my other radio show. And I hope this is helpful. Love you guys. Remember to be mindful and compassionate. And whatever can help you with your mindfulness and help you to achieve compassion, try it. It works if you work it. Keep on working it. Stay tuned. Come back, please. AA is also another solution for those of you who have trauma and have problems with addiction. And there are other alternative courses that you can take. I have a nonprofit foundation called Alternatives to Happiness. We have to seek bliss in our life. We have to find heaven. We can't wait for us to die to reach it. We can reach it here on earth, and this is just another example. All right, Assalamu alaikum, Rahmatullah, Shalom Barakatuh, Namaste. May you find peace in all the things that you do, and may we release the trauma from the past. Have a beautiful day.
And you can see now it's well over 2/3. But there's a major plateau from around the middle 70s to the middle 90s.
I'm going to continue watching this, and I'm going to bring back what I learned to you guys later. All right. Moment of silence for those that have passed.
California and Arizona in 1996 being the first medical marijuana states. And then as more medical marijuana states came on, more